let us discuss the peripheral nervous system, or the PNS, and how it functions as a communication link between the brain, the spinal cord, and the rest of the body. The peripheral nervous system consists of all the nerves that branch out from the brain and the spinal cord. These nerves form an extensive communication network that connects the central nervous system, or the CNS, to the different parts of the body. The main role of the PNS is to transmit information. It carries sensory information from the body to the CNS and sends motor commands from the CNS to the muscles and organs. The PNS is divided into two major divisions: the somatic nervous system and the autonomic nervous system. First, the somatic nervous system. This system consists of nerves that go to the skin and skeletal muscle. It is responsible for voluntary or conscious activities such as walking, writing, or picking up objects. It allows us to feel sensations like touch, pain, temperature, and pressure. So when you consciously decide to move or when you feel something on your skin, the somatic nervous system is involved. Next, the autonomic nervous system. This system consists of nerves that connects the CNS to the internal organs such as the heart, stomach, and the intestine. Unlike the somatic nervous system, the autonomic nervous system controls involuntary or unconscious activities. These include processes like heart rate, digestion, breathing rate, and gland secretion. The autonomic nervous system works automatically to maintain homeostasis or balance within the body. It is further divided into two parts: the sympathetic division, which prepares the body for stress or flight, and the parasympathetic division, which promotes the rest and digest activities. To summarize, the peripheral nervous system serves as the communication network of the body. The somatic nervous system controls voluntary action and sensory input, while the autonomic nervous system regulates involuntary functions of internal organs. Together, this system ensures that the body can respond appropriately to both internal and external changes. As a review, let us try to go back in mapping the nervous system. This table summarizes the organization of the nervous system, showing how it is structurally and functionally divided. The first major division of the nervous system is what we call the central nervous system, composed of the brain and the spinal cord. That is for the main control and processing center that interprets sensory information and generates responses. Think of this as the command center. While the second part is the peripheral nervous system, where all nerves and sensory receptors outside the CNS functions to connect the body to the CNS, carrying information to and from the brain and the spinal cord. Think of this as your communication network. The function of the PNS, the first one is the somatic nervous system that controls voluntary movement, example, skeletal muscles for walking, writing, speaking, conscious control of the body movement, such as raising your hand in class. The second one is the autonomic nervous system that controls involuntary function for smooth muscle, cardiac muscle, and the glands that works automatically to maintain homeostasis. Another subdivision of the autonomic nervous system is the sympathetic division for fight or flight response that is activated during stress or emergencies. Effect of this would be increased heart rate, dilated airways, inhibits digestion, and release of energy in the form of glucose, preparing the body for action. Then we have parasympathetic division for the rest and digest response, activated during calm or relaxed states. The effect of this is lower heart rate, stimulating digestion, conservation of energy, promoting maintenance and recovery. Then we have the enteric nervous system, sometimes called the second brain of the gut, found in the walls of the gastrointestinal tract that controls digestion, peristalsis or the movement of food in the action of the gravity, enzyme secretion that can function independently but also influenced by the autonomic nervous system. So to summarize, the CNS processes information The PNS delivers signal, the somatic system controls voluntary action, and the autonomic system regulates internal balance. Now, let us discuss the somatic nervous system, or the SNS, which is a major division of the peripheral nervous system, responsible for voluntary control of skeletal muscles. The somatic nervous system allows us to consciously perform actions such as walking, talking, writing, and typing. It acts as a communication pathway between the brain, spinal cord, and skeletal muscle. Let's begin with the two major functions of the SNS, the motor and the sensory function. First, the motor function. The SNS uses efferent neurons, also called motor neurons, to carry signals from the central nervous system to the muscles. These signals trigger muscle contraction, allowing movement. For example, when you decide to pick up an object, your brain sends a command through these motor pathways to your arm muscles. Second, the sensory function. The SNS also carries information from sensory receptors to the brain using sensory or afferent neurons. These receptors are found in the skin, eyes, ears, and muscles. They detect stimuli such as touch, temperature, pain, and body position, also known as proprioception. Now, looking at the diagram on the right, we can see the structure of a neuron, which is the basic unit of the nervous system. It consists of the cell body, which contains the nucleus, the dendrites, which receive incoming signals, and the axon, which transmits signals away from the cell body. The axon is often covered by myelin, a fatty layer that speeds up signal transmission. The illustration also shows how signals travel in the body. Sensory input travel from the hand to the brain through nerves and spinal cords. The brain processes this information, then sends motor commands back to the muscles to produce movement. This continuous loop allows the body to respond quickly and accurately to the environment. In summary, the somatic nervous system controls bodily voluntary movement, carries sensory information to the brain, and sends motor commands into skeletal muscles. It also plays a crucial role in how we interact with and respond to our surroundings. Then we go to the autonomic nervous system, or the ANS. This system is in charge of involuntary functions regulating bodily processes like heart rate, digestion, respiration, and blood pressure that operates without conscious control. The ANS is further divided into the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. That is for fight or flight response, and the rest and digest respectively. Then lastly, we have the enteric nervous system of the gut that functions independently but communicates with the sympathetic and parasympathetic systems to regulate digestion. To focus on parasympathetic and sympathetic division, it is any part of the autonomic nervous system that is involuntarily controlled by the body for its different function. The first one is the parasympathetic division that conserves energy and supports normal body maintenance. The effect of this is pupil constriction for better near vision, salivation increase for aid in digestion, airway constriction for normal breathing state, heart rate slows when there is a reduce in the energy use, stomach and intestinal digestion to promote nutrient absorption, bladder contraction to promote urination, and reproductive organs for increased blood flow, which is important for arousal. Then we have the sympathetic division for fight or flight, that is activated during stress, danger, or physical activities. The effects on the body: when pupils dilate, it improves distant vision. When salivation decreases, the digestion pauses. When airways dilate, more oxygen will be intake. When heart rate increases, the pumping of the blood increases. When digestion is inhibited, energy is redirected. When liver releases glucose, there is a quick energy supply. When adrenal glands release adrenaline, or the epinephrine, it boosts alertness. When bladder relaxes, it inhibits urination, and when reproductive activity decreases, it will aid for our survival, alertness, and energy mobilization. Now, to compare, they are mainly for um, digestion, stimulation, inhibition, pupil constriction and dilation, energy conservation, and also the use on the different parts of the body. Now, the control center is the hypothalamus and the brainstem that signals and travels through the autonomic nervous system to the different organs of the body.